put this one up. All righty. Can you hear me, Latanya?
Yes, I can.
All right, great. All right. How much time do you got? Just I want to make sure I get you out in time and everything. Would you have about 13 minutes or so?
Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
very good. All right, very good. Here we go. Let me just da, da, da. Here we go. Once pulling up my information here.
You're fine.
You don't need me to do anything. I can leave you to it. I mean, I don't want to be in your way. No, I gotta. You're fine. All right, Latani. Here we go.
Are we just going to do it by radio then?
Yep, we're just gonna do it this way,
Okay.
which is fine. Which is fine.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. And good morning once again, everyone. Welcome back to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow on 98.9 WXCO and the Civic Media app. I keep forgetting we are statewide today as I am sitting in for Pat Kreitlow. He'll be back on Tuesday of next week, but very happy to be guest hosting here today from our 98.9 WXCO Wausau studios. And coming up in just over a week, as it's going to be a special event here in Wausau on May 24th. It's titled Wausau Unites in Love, Remembering George Floyd Rally for Justice and Freedom, 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. at the 400 block in downtown Wausau. We're going to talk about this event, talk about the issues as well, as we are nearly 5 years this month from the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. But to talk about it, I'm very happy to welcome one of the organizers of the event that is going to be happening in just over a week. We're very happy to welcome Latanya Campbell. And Latanya, first of all, thank you for spending some time with us here today.
Oh, thank you for having me and publicizing this amazing event.
Well, let's start with the event itself, and then we're going to talk, I think, maybe bigger picture. Coming up in just over a week, it's this event. Could you tell us a little bit about the event, how it came to be, and what you're hoping for coming up in about, 8 days' time as we hear this interview?
Yes, so I was approached by some community members, part of Naomi, wanting to do something in remembrance of George Floyd. They wanted to bring awareness around his death and kind of see where we're at today, if things have gotten better, if things have gotten worse. And so with that idea, I was like, well, there's a lot of things going on right now in this present climate that has people feeling fearful, people not feeling seen, accepted, or believed, or even that they belong. I said, so this would be a perfect opportunity to combine those two. George Floyd, he was someone's son, he was a person, a brother, he was a father. I know a lot of people talk about his criminal record, but if we put that to the side, he's still a person, a son, a brother, a father. And we have many people right now who are sons, fathers, mothers, sisters, daughters that are being stripped and taken away from their families and sent to other places. And so I didn't want this to be purely just George Floyd. I didn't want this to be a Black issue. I wanted this to be a community issue that's going to bring awareness to all of the issues that different marginalized communities are facing. So with that in mind, we wanted people to feel loved. We wanted people, a lot of people right now are feeling like they're in a twilight zone. They're feeling like they're on some type of island all by themselves, and they're wondering if other people are seeing what's going on. They're wondering if other people are feeling like, they're feeling. And so I felt like this was a good event to bring people together so that they can feel that love. They can feel like they belong here. They can feel seen, and they can also talk about the issues that their communities face. So go ahead.
I was going to say part of the title is Wausau Unites in Love. Mm-hmm. And I think that is vitally important at this time because the idea of uniting is not right now happening in a lot of areas, is it? And to have an opportunity, I think, and to be able to hear these stories is something that is vitally important, isn't it?
It is. And, There are a lot of people that are having rallies and protests, and rightfully so. I didn't want this to be an event where we're screaming or yelling at someone. To me, I feel like that pushes people away. I
Mhm.
wanted it to be where we brought people in, that we spoke to their heart and we educated their mind.
When you look at the last 5 years, actually, I was having a conversation with somebody recently because when you look back to 5 years ago, and it was not just George Floyd and the issues that came out and the protests and the voices being raised about that issue. We were in the midst of COVID as well. And I
Mhm.
was talking to somebody and we were speaking about how 5 years ago, we don't remember it this way now, but there was a consensus that, hey, we needed to do something in terms of sacrificing in terms of trying to squash COVID. And also in the aftermath of George Floyd, I think there was a consensus for a lot of people that you can't be doing those kind of things, that you are right, that he is a person and that we all have these human rights. But now as time has gone by, I think you said it, there are people that point out, well, he had a criminal record or, well, this or that. It feels as though that we have to maybe take a step back and remember what was going on 5 years ago and maybe the mindset of a lot of people and what the truth is about what happened 5 years ago as it has it what it means today. Am I? Does that
I,
make any sense?
yeah, that does. There was a worldwide response. I don't know if it was because, we were at, I believe it was actually because we were at a standstill with COVID. And so people actually saw and they had to lean in. I think that's why the response was as huge as it was. But I want this rally to have the same type of response, a
Mhm.
global response that's saying that, everyone deserves civil liberties. Everyone deserves justice, due process. Everyone deserves just the right to get up and go to work and come home and just take care of their families.
Mhm. Again, we're talking to Latanya Campbell is coming up on Saturday, May 24th, 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. at the 400 block in downtown Wausau. Wausau Unites in Love, remembering George Floyd Rally for Justice and Freedom. You mentioned the fact that this event not only honors the late George Floyd, but recognizes those living in marginalized communities as well. Is there a thought on some of these other marginalized communities that will be involved in this event are?
Yes, so we have people from the African American community, women. We have people that are indigenous. We have people that are Latino, Mexican, Asian, refugees, the LGBTQIA communities, and also the faith communities. So we wanted to have representation of the people that actually live here in this community.
Kind of a hard question, but
Okay.
I imagine that the folks who will be part of this event, is there an underlining theme outside of just having these folks as we sit here in mid-May of 2025? There was so much tension and I think fear in a lot of different communities.
Mhm.
What do you think that the ultimate message that you and others that will be part of this rally are going to try to have people take away when they get to 2 o'clock on May 24th? Because I do think that, and I was talking to another guest earlier in the week, that there's so much going on right now, and that there's so much that is almost overwhelming to a lot of people, just adding to the stresses of everyday life. What
Mhm.
is the ultimate takeaway that you're going to be trying to maybe build during those 3 hours on May 24th?
Well, there's strength in solidarity, right? That's what we saw with the George Floyd protest. That's what we're trying to have with Wausau Unites in Love. So when you know better, do better, right? The actual message that we want to say that it's not a political, this is not a political message at all. This is a
Mhm.
humanity message that we must come together and do what's right to create real and lasting change. We must care about our brothers and our sisters, and they don't have to look like us. They don't have to love like us. They don't have to believe like us, but we must support and love each other.
How much of importance is just the conversation? And I asked that because there was a story in one of our local news sources, I think about a week or two ago, talking about this. And they had a link on their Facebook page and people commented on it. And there was like, in some cases, back and forth. And some folks basically, like you said, saying, "What? Why are we honoring George Floyd? He had a record and such." But a situation like this, coming together like this, is a chance to talk maybe to those folks that may not think of things in the way that, hey, we all have the right to live, the right to try to make our lives better, even if there are potholes on that road to wherever we're heading. I imagine the conversations that will be had is something that's also very important involving in this event.
It is, and I'm hoping that people that do attend the rally, they will get some necessary tools that they need to continue these conversations. This isn't a one and done. Everybody that goes, they can talk to their family, their friends, their colleagues, and then that a conversation can keep growing and growing and growing. I always recommend people to, check out some resources and read some books, look at the history, and kind of look at how history is repeating itself, and take you out of it. So many times people are defensive and they're not willing to listen. They're not willing to understand. They're listening to attack, to defend. And so I just invite people to just take themselves out of it, listen to understand, and want to do better. Because I honestly feel like when the lowest of us are in a good place, that means the rest of us are in an amazing place.
When you have the conversations, I'm kind of curious because you obviously have a lot of conversations with folks about a lot of these issues. I mean,
Mhm.
big picture issues. What are some of the tools that you use in order to maybe have folks that may not be as informed as you are, may just not have the information that you have, in order to educate in some way? Are there any tools that maybe you could share with us that for these conversations? Because obviously, within families, there's a lot of differences of opinion and a lot of these different kind of issues. What kind of tools do you use in terms of your conversations?
I usually try to give them a lot of resources, and I usually try to listen to understand from their point of view. And trying to, and as hard as it is to take myself out of it being a Black woman, I try to sit in that space where they're coming from and ask questions. And a lot of times when you ask questions, people tend to, some people tend to get insight. And then some of those bells ring off like, oh, wait a minute. Why is this? Why is that? I get them to be interested and curious so they
Mm.
can go dig in further for themselves.
I think something you just said about listening, that's something that I think in any circumstance as we try to navigate through these times, the if you just take that moment where you don't get overly upset, because it's very easy in some of these conversations to get upset, to take that moment just to listen and then to have the conversation. I imagine that's one way to move the rock up the hill that we're trying to do right now, isn't it?
Right. And I feel like a lot of people feel like something is being taken away from them. You hear that with the DEI conversation, which doesn't even encompass what DEI actually means, but they feel like they're being taken away from something. But right now, a lot of people are losing their jobs. A lot of people are losing their benefits. A lot of people are losing their homes and their farms. It's time that everybody kind of stood together.
And I guess that is the ultimate about this event again, coming up on Saturday, May 24th, 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. at the 400 block here in downtown Wausau. Wausau Unites in Love, remembering George Floyd rally for justice and freedom. And as you said, it's an opportunity for people to come together, listen and talk. And I imagine that anybody out there that's tuned in, Latanya, it really is a welcoming event, isn't it?
It is. We are going to have it for family friendly. There will be food available for kids are welcome. It is free. We are
Mhm.
going to have a couple dance performances. We want it to be a place where you are getting informed, but you're being educated and you understand the nature of what's going on, but that you don't feel attacked, you don't feel threatened, you don't feel dehumanized.
Very good. And one reason I wanted you today is because folks around the state, on stations around the state on civic media, can hear this and perhaps come here to downtown Wausau a week from Saturday, be part of this event, and come and visit us here in Wausau and really share in this, I think, very, very special event. So, again, thank you for the work that you and others have been doing. And hopefully it'll be a wonderful Saturday. Hopefully the weather will be beautiful and it'll be a wonderful chance for everybody to come together.
I hope so too. And thank you again for having me and having the courage to air this.
Oh, absolutely. Again, Wausau Unites in Love, remembering George Floyd Rally for Justice and Freedom, coming up a week from Saturday, May 24th, 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. in the 400 block of downtown Wausau. Again, thanks to Latanya for joining us. We have to take a quick time out, and then we'll be back with more. It is Mornings with Pat Kreitlow on the Civic Media Radio Network. 1 second here.